Welcome to Nexla, an intuitive no-compromise ETL platform that enables you to easily connect with, monitor, and manage any data. Let me show you a few features. You can use Nexla to read data from anywhere. File systems like S3, FTP, Dropbox, databases like Redshift, Snowflake, SQL, any REST or SOAP APIs, and I mean really any APIs, Salesforce, Zendesk, Zillow. We'll take a look at them in just a minute. You can also push data to Nexla directly by creating a webhook. Now, not only can you configure Nexla to read data from any type of source, you can configure it to read exactly what you want. Let's look at S3 and API sources. Let's connect to my S3 source. I can enter credentials or use an existing one. I get a live preview of my S3. I can even click on a file to get a quick preview. With Nexla, I don't need to ensure my source has only one type of data. Nexla has artificial intelligence built in to detect schema types and changes in schema. I can point the source to any path and the platform will smartly detect all schemas. There is also the power of fine-tune control. I can configure how frequently the location should be scanned for new data. I can whitelist or blacklist paths to control which files are read. And while the platform can smartly extract schemas from most file formats like Excel and EDI, I can even tightly control how a file should be read. I get full ingestion history for every source. For this source, I can see Nexla read these files and detected two distinct schemas. When a new file is dropped into this location, Nexla will read the file and depending on the data, either send it through one of these datasets or create a brand new one. With Nexla's uniquely powerful API connector, I can connect to any API no matter what authentication type, and I can even chain APIs. Let's take an example. I have an API from the movie database that gives a list of trending movies over a day. I'll plug the API in here and I get a sample response. If this is exactly what I want, great, I'm done. But if this API requires paginated requests, I can configure Nexla to iterate. And I can use these smart tokens to configure exactly what part of the response to retain. But what if I want to fetch more details about each of these movies and save that as a record? For this API, I need to use the ID of each movie and call another API endpoint. With Nexla's API chaining, all I have to do is add another step and set the URL by using the parameter from the response of the previous stage. And now this is the sample record that will be stored as a dataset by Nexla. Just like file sources, I get full ingestion history of the API source. How many records were ingested, how many errors were detected, and what was the dataset found. I can modify the data in three different modes based on my needs. I can use simple UI drop-down elements to apply powerful inbuilt Nexla transforms, from hashing an attribute to complex if-else conditions. I can even combine these inbuilt functions to create my own complex function, as well as apply filter rules for dropping records based on value. But what if I were comfortable with Python or JavaScript coding? I can use the custom code option to type my code. All the Nextla functions are available as pre-built snippets for me to use. And if a transform definition is something I need frequently, I can save and reuse it anytime. I can push data to different destinations, file systems, APIs, databases. Like sources, these destinations are completely configurable. I can control where and in what format data is written. For example, here I'm connecting to my SQL database. I get a live preview of my database. I can choose to insert or upsert to an existing table or create a new one. As with sources, there is full history on every data write attempt made by Nexla. In the Flows view, I can look at all my data flows, zoom into one resource, and view its upstream and downstream connections. So now I know Nexla detected 219 records for this source and found two datasets. I can go back and forth between a flow and its individual resources, and even edit the resource. Let's look at some Nexla features for everything beyond ETL. Nexla generates notifications for a whole range of events. For example, ingestion, new schemas detected, significant changes in data volume. I can configure account level notifications here, but I can also fine-tune notifications per resource. So if I had hundreds of sources and a few of them were mission critical, I could just set data volume change alerts for just those few and keep my inbox clean of noise. I can also look at error data, what error happened on which input record. In the Error tab, I can preview the error data, and I see, oh, there was an issue in the 48th row of this file. If a file failed ingestion and I want to re-ingest it all over again after fixes, all I have to do is trigger the re-ingest action. Even for APIs and databases, I get full history of read and write attempts. Nexla provides access control settings, so I can give read or write access to other people in my organization. And so to keep tabs on knowing exactly what configuration of a resource was changed, when and by whom, there is full audit log. I can see this API was reconfigured by me and that the URL was changed. Finally, let's come back to the dashboard. The dashboard is a high-level overview of all the recent things happening in my account. The flow summary, which tells me how many records were ingested in the last 24 hours per flow and how many were written out. Any flow that needs my attention because it had errors will be up top in red. Data volume read and write summaries are there to know how much data is flowing through Nexla, and recent errors and notifications for me to look at. So that was an overview of Nexla. If you haven't tried out Nexla yet, I hope you will. Sign up by going to www.nexla.com and let us know your needs. We are constantly introducing new capabilities towards making it a no-compromise platform that works for all your data needs.